Indianapolis is built for speed, electricity, and...
Let's do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome into the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X__Jonathan Smith, follow me there and watch the show there. Maybe you're listening on that Indy Sports Ticket app, but you can download wherever you find your apps. And, of course, you can listen on 1430 AM if you're in the Indianapolis area. Big day. It's Friday. It's Friday. There's a million and one things for me to get to today. I've got thoughts on Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. Quarterback battle. It's August 1st. And as Dan and I do on the Dan Dockett Show from noon to 3, which you should totally listen to on that Indy Sports Ticket app, we always make a prediction on the first of every month. Who is the starting quarterback going to be for the Colts week 1? So I'm just going to get out ahead of it. And I'm just going to tell you what I think right now. Who is going to be the Colts starting quarterback week 1? The answer is still the same. I still think Daniel Jones is going to be the Colts starter week 1. This is what I said July 1st. This is what I'm saying August 1st. I think the Colts like knowing exactly what they have at the quarterback position because they haven't had that in quite some time. Like, when was the last time that the Colts broke the huddle and you, as you sat at home and you watched the game, you knew exactly what you were going to get? The answer is probably Phillip Rivers. Carson Wentz was a little up and down. Matt Ryan was terrible. The Gardner Minshew stuff was okay. 15 touchdowns, 9 picks. Last year, Anthony Richardson, very up and down. Joe Flacco, not very good either. And I think that there's a part of Shane Steichen and there's a part of this Colts organization that needs to win this year so that they can hold on to their jobs. There's a part of them that's got to be like, you know what would be nice? If I just knew what I was going to get week in and week out. And throughout this training camp cycle, all that you and I have heard and seen has been very Anthony Richardson focused. Oh, Anthony Richardson's having a great camp. Look at this pass that he threw. The Indianapolis Colts official X page finally posted a video of Daniel Jones throwing the football in pads. And it's only because Tyler Warren made a good catch. And by the way, it wasn't a one-handed catch. He knocked the ball down with his left hand and then caught it with both. Not the same thing. Still a very impressive catch, but not one-handed. Just want to clarify that. So far, all we've heard about is Anthony Richardson. And by all accounts, he's playing well, including the account of Colts head coach Shane Steichen. Here he is very briefly discussing Anthony Richardson and the good camp that he's had so far.
I think everything's cleaner right now. He's playing at a high level. He's making good decisions with the football, taking the completions when needed. So it's been really good to see.
Really good to see. Shane Steichen right there talking about Anthony Richardson's camp so far. And that's great. I am glad that it seems like Anthony Richardson has figured some things out. I'm glad that he's just taking the completions when they're there. I'm glad that he's making smart decisions with the football so far through camp. Last night, they had a night practice, and apparently the vibes were immaculate, and the energy was really high, and, like, that's cool. Like, that's fun. Like, I like fun. That's a good thing. And there's all these videos, and I just want to very quickly remind everybody what the Indianapolis Colts had to do yesterday. The Indianapolis Colts had to go pick up 2 cornerbacks off the streets because they had guys get hurt. Now, Javarius Ward is still playing. He's not hurt, but Jalen Jones has a hamstring. Juju Brents has a hamstring, which means Wally, a 3rd-round pick, is probably your other corner. And then after that, when you get into the 2s, it's guys that the Colts had to go and pull off the street. So I just want us to hold our horses a little bit because Anthony Richardson had another good practice. Because these practices don't mean much at all to me. Is it nice that he's performing better in this training camp than he did last year in his rookie year? Absolutely. I will take improvement with Anthony Richardson wherever I can get it because I do want him to be the Colts starting quarterback week 1. I want him to be the guy. With that being said, what's Shane Steichen going to say in that clip? Hey, coach, how have you seen Anthony Richardson get better from last year to this year? Oh, he hasn't. He's actually not very good at all. Like, he's not going to say that. You know, he's not going to stand there and rip Anthony Richardson. Like, that's not going to happen. Okay, he's going to be positive. But with that being said, everything that's been reported, the videos, all that stuff, there is a decent amount to be happy about. There is, right? Like seeing, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a video of him dropping a ball in a bucket to Ashton Doolin over the outside shoulder for a touchdown. Apparently he and Tyler Warren are connecting really well early. Like there are things to be happy about with Anthony Richardson. With that being said, training camp, I don't really care about it. We are going to find out, we will begin to find out who really has the edge in the starting quarterback battle next week. They played their first preseason game on Thursday against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Ravens probably won't play their starters in the actual preseason game. That's probably not going to happen. But their actual starters and that nasty secondary with Kyle Hamilton and rookie Malachi Starks and the two, like they've got good corners. They drafted Nate Wiggins out of Clemson a couple years ago. When he's been healthy, he's been really good. They're going to go to Baltimore and practice against that team. And to me, the joint practices are going to mean a little bit more than the preseason stuff, because you can just stop practice and be like, two-minute drill, let's go. Anthony, you're up. All right, we got a field goal. Daniel, you're up. We got a touchdown. Awesome. All right, for the next hour or however long they do stuff for, we're going to work on red zone. We're going to do 7-on-7, so on and so forth. Like, you can work on specific things. And so that is when we are going to figure out who has the edge. Because if Anthony Richardson goes out on Tuesday in that joint practice, and let's say he's bad. Let's say he throws 2 interceptions and he's inaccurate and he really struggles. Like, let's say that happens. Then all this training camp success that he's had early, poof, it's gone. Especially if Daniel Jones continues to be what he is, and that's steadily below average. I think that the Colts would rather have that than the volatility that they got from Anthony Richardson last season. So Tuesday, that is when it is going to start slowly becoming clear who has the edge in this quarterback battle. I hope it's Anthony Richardson. I really do. But some of you guys need to hold your horses a little bit. Is that a Colts pun? It might be. Because after 2 years of bad play, I'm not buying in to Anthony Richardson just because he had a few good training camp practices. I need to see him do it on the field against a real defense, because I don't think that this Colts defense is going to be very good this year. I'm very nervous about the development of Leatu Latu, because we haven't heard a peep about him. And that's concerning, because he was the first defensive player taken last year. And people want Leatu Latu to be good. And if he was having a good camp, then we would hear about it somewhere. But we haven't heard about it at all, which probably means that he's not very noticeable. And that is very problematic. And I get that most of the attention's on Richardson and Daniel Jones. And so like guys are mainly writing about and talking about those guys. But Leatu Latu was supposed to be a stud. I'm not hearing about him. And that's very problematic. So, Anthony Richardson, I'm glad that you're having a good training camp. But you've got to keep it rolling if you want me and all of the smart Colts fans to actually believe in you. Because a few good training camp practices doesn't erase the 2 years of suckage that we saw from you in the NFL. Okay, I hope it's Richardson. I really do. But I have to see more. Now, I will say, it does seem like Anthony Richardson is kind of starting to figure things out a little bit. Stephen Holder has an article up on ESPN.com, and he basically is writing about how Anthony Richardson has changed his eating habits. Here's the quote from Anthony Richardson. I had to cut the sweet outs, man. It's the candy. I used to be big on Skittles and all that stuff, just eating candy all the time. So I've been just trying to cut out the sugary stuff and hydrate more. I need to be more of a pro when it comes to my eating. Oh my gosh. Suspicions confirmed. If they weren't already confirmed before. Anthony Richardson, just not mature enough, clearly, the first 2 years. Clearly. And then like you compare him saying that to the Cam Ward clip of him talking about how his dad used to get up at 4:30 in the morning for a job he didn't like. And now if he can do that, then Cam can definitely get up at 4:30 in the morning for a job he does like. And like, look, Cam Ward is older than Anthony Richardson, so he should be a little bit more mature upon entering the league. With that being said, like, I don't need Marshawn Lynch playing quarterback for me. Marshawn Lynch, the Skittles commercials and all that, like, that's cool. That's for running backs and wide receivers and defensive linemen. I don't need that from my quarterback. That's the last thing that I need. And so I'm glad that Anthony Richardson appears to be kind of figuring it out a little bit, fixing the diet. He's down 10 pounds. He was 250 last year. He's down to 240 pounds, still big, like still has the armor needed to kind of, well, maybe he has the armor needed to take hits. We'll see. So oh my gosh. Ross Campbell chiming in. Problem solved. Cut the Skittles and become Peyton Manning. Hey, man, maybe that's the answer. Who knows? But I will say this is a step in the right direction. As ridiculous as I find it that he didn't know this upon entering the NFL, I am glad that this is something that he has figured out. Okay? No more candy. We'll take the small victories where we can. So, as I said the other day, I thought, the press conference that he had after Colts camp was the first time I had heard Anthony Richardson talk and thought that he sounded like an NFL quarterback. Just mature, calm, said all of the right things, talked about how he needs to do more. Now he's talking about how he's eating better. Like these are steps in the right direction. They are. Like he's slowly maturing. It's taken some time. It has, but better late than never. And I'm going to give Chris Ballard a little bit of credit here. Does this maturing happen if there's not a quarterback competition? Like if the job was just going to be Anthony Richardson's, does he make these changes? Does he study his playbook more? Does he put in the work in the offseason the way that he did? Does he fix his diet and slim down a little bit? Do all those problems get fixed if they don't sign Daniel Jones to that 1 year, $14 million deal? We'll never know, but I'm going to bet that they probably don't get fixed because this is the advantage of competition, right? It gets guys' butts in gear. It does. Like there's, I find it funny. There's a clip out there. It's old. It's Ben Roethlisberger doing this like avoiding pressure drill, and they're throwing bags at him, and he's just standing there. And instead of doing the drill right and like moving around and avoiding the bags, he's just like shrugging all of them off. Because when you are undoubtedly going to be the starting quarterback, you can do that. You can have days where you kind of goof off a little bit and you don't take everything as seriously as you probably should. But when you're in a quarterback competition, like you better believe that you're going to take everything seriously and you're going to try to figure everything out, and you're going to want to know the playbook better than the guy that you're competing then, and you're going to want to eat better than that guy and be in better shape and be better well conditioned and so on and so forth. So Anthony Richardson clearly seems to be maturing a little bit, not a lot of it, but just a little bit. Things are headed in the right direction. Apparently training camp looks really good. Once again, I want to see just a little bit more before I just buy in to anything and everything Anthony Richardson related. All right, like let's see this dude play in a real game, not a training camp practice before, we just crown him. Because once again, I still think that Daniel Jones is going to be the day one starter for the Colts. If Anthony Richardson plays well in the preseason game against Baltimore, and if he performs well in the preseason or in that joint practice, then I will be more inclined to change my opinion. But a few good training camp practices isn't enough for me. It's just not. When we come back here in about 4 minutes, we are 30 days away from Texas and Ohio State, the first big college football game of the season. It's close, folks. We had the Hall of Fame game last night, right? College football, less than a month away. The NFL, we got preseason games next week. The Colts, 7 o'clock on Thursday night against the Ravens. Like, that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So I want to talk a little bit about the upcoming college football season, the things that I'm kind of eyeing, the things that are intriguing to me when it comes to just the season and the storylines and the things that we're going to pay attention to. The first college football game of the season is actually Saturday, August 23rd. So it's even closer. We're 27 days away. We got Iowa State, Kansas State, week 1. Let's go. Can't wait for that. College football. So awesome. So yeah, Saturday, August 23rd. That is the first week of the season. And then August 30th, excuse me. That is Texas and Ohio State. We get a couple other good games in there as well. Syracuse playing Tennessee. Old Dominion, Indiana. That game's going to be awesome. We'll see. But, like, there's lines up. You can bet on it. It's almost here. Can't wait. Can't wait for it. So when we come back here in about 4 minutes, we're going to start looking ahead a little bit to the start of the college football season.
minutes in today's sports world. It's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X _ Jonathan Smith. If you want to follow me and watch the show there, you can also listen on that Indy's Sports Ticket app, or 1430 AM if you're driving around the Indianapolis area. College football is not that far away, right? We got Ohio State and Texas in 29 days. First week of the season is Saturday, August 23rd. So we're 22 days away from that, a little over 3 weeks away from real football games on your television. I am so excited. We're going to have Zack Gray on here in about an hour and 20 minutes, and he's going to give out some bets, and we're going to talk a little bit about, college football and the NFL and all those things. We'll probably talk a little trade deadline stuff as well. So I wanted to get into what I think are the most interesting storylines going into the college football season. The biggest one for me is Bill Belichick being at North Carolina. They've sold out all of their games for the year. People in North Carolina are very excited for some football, as they should be. They just hired the greatest coach in the history of the NFL. They're going to go into every game with a coaching advantage, and that's really important, especially in college football when you're coaching 18-year-olds. Like, it matters. So that they're going to be well coached. The question is, how much talent are they going to have, right? Because college football is not a fair sport. It's not. Luckily for North Carolina, they play in the ACC, and this schedule, listen to this. They're going to play TCU, who's projected to win, I think their over-under is 7.5 games. They're going to play Charlotte. They're going to play Richmond, at Central Florida, Clemson, tough game, at Cal, Virginia, at Syracuse, Stanford at home, at Wake Forest, Duke at home, and then at NC State. I'm going to ask a really simple question. Who on that list is a better football coach than Bill Belichick? I'm going to argue nobody. Maybe Dabo Swinney. The North Carolina Tar Heels over-under win total for the year is 7.5. The over is plus 134. Sign me up for that every day of the week. Bill Belichick should win at least 8 games. And I genuinely believe that 11-1, 10-2 is on the board for them. He's going to be the better coach in every game except for maybe the Clemson game. That's it. Right? And I know people don't like Dabo Swinney, but he's a great football coach. He was the only guy in the Nick Saban era of college football to consistently put together a program that competed with Nick Saban. So he's the only guy who I think is going to be good enough on that schedule to match Belichick. And I know that they're going to have better players than North Carolina. Everyone else on that UNC schedule is absolutely beatable. That is just the very simple reality of it. So over 7.5 wins, monitoring the first year of Bill Belichick in college football, I think is going to be fascinating. The second most interesting story for me is Deion Sanders coaching college football without his kids. I am more interested in Colorado now than I was ever before. With Shedeur and Travis Hunter on the team, you kind of knew that it was going to be all about them and they were going to throw the football a bunch. And obviously Deion Sanders wanted to do right by his son to, have him get drafted. And, his other kid played safety and he was okay. And all that kind of stuff. Like, you knew it was going to be about Shedeur, Travis Hunter, and Deion Sanders' other kid. Now, I have no idea what to expect from Colorado. And I think that's a good thing. And I think that Deion Sanders is going to be, I think he is a good coach, and I think he's going to be a better coach this year because he's not having to worry about his kids. This is the most interesting Colorado has been, and I'm very excited to see kind of how they hold up in the Big 12. The Big 12, I find kind of interesting. Texas Tech has sunk a lot of money into that program. Arizona State was a really good team last year, right? Made the college football playoff, won the Big 12, all that kind of stuff. Kansas State's usually solid. Kansas has had kind of a resurgence. They can go 6-6 now. Utah is always tough. Scott Frost is back at Central Florida, where, they hung a banner for being national champions, which is absurd. So the Big 12 is interesting, but Colorado by far is the most interesting team in that group, mainly because Deion Sanders' kids are gone. And this kind of new era, which it's weird to call it an era because they only had Shadur and Travis for 2 years, but they're kind of moving in this new direction now. And I'm very intrigued to see where it goes. The biggest story, though, in college football, probably from a national standpoint, it's not Bill Belichick. It's not Deion Sanders. There's only one name in football that outweighs both of those. And it's that Manning last name. Arch Manning, I feel bad for the guy. Seriously. Like, he's just been overhyped. He's going to be the number 1 overall pick. And, the Colts need to tank so they can draft Arch. And Cleveland is, I'm sure, saying the exact same thing. And he is the most overhyped player in college football. Here's Paul Feinbaum just saying stupid stuff about Arch Manning.
The absolute roof. I think there's a reasonably good chance that Arch Manning will be sitting on the front row in New York at the Heisman ceremony. That's assuming that his team does what it's supposed to do and compete for not only the SEC, but for the national championship. And I really believe they will. I think Steve Sarkisian, who's one of the most amazing play callers I've ever seen, made a critical mistake late in the year. He was way too loyal to Quinn Ewers, who was banged up and was really ineffective. Had Arch Manning been instituted in the second half of that game, like Nick Saban did a couple of years ago with Tagovailoa, I think there's a reasonably good chance that Texas would have beaten Ohio State and won the national championship. They're very capable of doing it again this year. I believe also that Arch Manning is the best college football quarterback we have seen since Tim Tebow entered the scene in 2006.
Best quarterback we've seen enter the college football scene since Tim freaking Tebow. Tim Tebow. The best quarterback in the history of college football. Arguably. He's definitely the best quarterback in my lifetime. I can definitely confirm that. Arch Manning is going to be good. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not sitting here saying that, he's going to be bad or anything like that. Okay? But with that being said, he's just going to win the Heisman. Come on now. That's insane for a guy that we've seen start 2 games against non-SEC teams. Come on now. And I get it. He's being coached by one of the best offensive coaches in college football. This Texas defense is supposed to be stout once again. They're going to have weapons for him. He's going to be good. But is he going to win the Heisman? Probably not. Is Texas going to win the national title? I don't know. A lot of people like him, but there's a lot of other good college football teams. Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan should be much improved this year. Oregon is going to be good again. Georgia in the SEC. LSU has the number 1 ranked transfer class in the country, and they have a quarterback returning that everyone really seems to love in Garrett Nussmeier, a guy who could actually be the number 1 overall pick. I mean, it's just the Arch Manning stuff. I'm going to end up disliking the kid simply because everyone else loves him so freaking much. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so annoying. Jeez Louise. The other thing that has really kind of shifted my focus in college football, I no longer care about who the top 4 teams are. The anticipation of who the top 4 teams are going to be every year, it's gone. Now, every year, we're going to go into the season, and, previously, when it was only a 4-team playoff, there were 6 to 8 teams that you had to pay attention to every year, because going into the season, it's all right, I think these are the 8 teams who have a legitimate chance to finish within the top 4. Now, all those teams obviously didn't make it then, but now they all seem to make it now. Right. And, and then who the final four teams are, 9, 10, 11, 12, that is a mystery. But you can go ahead and pencil it in right now. Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, Clemson, Texas, Alabama, Notre Dame, all 7 of those teams probably going to make the playoff. Okay, and if you don't like Alabama, then just plug in LSU. Plug in whoever you think is going to finish third in the SEC. Just go ahead and put them in there. That's going to happen this year. Just book it. All right, and then there's 8 teams who are going to fight for those final few spots just to get beat in the first round. South Carolina, I think Florida's going to be really good this year. LSU, Illinois, Indiana, Arizona, Texas Tech, Arizona State, Michigan, Miami. I'm sure there's other teams that I'm missing in there as well. So who's going to kind of fight for those final three spots, because obviously you're going to have your best group of 5 team in there as well. And this is the new college football. This is something I'm going to pay attention to, but not like that I'm paying attention to. Which 9-3 team is the best? Which team lost a quarter of their games this year? Yeah, which one of those 9-3 teams is the best? Because that's really what the conversation is going to come down to at the end of the season. And personally, I preferred arguing over the 4th and 5th best teams in college football, but the NCAA had to make more money because the NCAA's never made enough money. And so while I am interested to see who earns those final 4 spots, because it does give us opportunities for really good stories like Indiana last year. Who is the team that, or Arizona State, who are the teams, plural, because that's what it was last year, who are the teams that are just going to kind of emerge out of nowhere and compete for a spot in the college football playoff, either because they greatly exceed expectations or because they have a really easy schedule like Arizona State and Indiana did last year. So very intrigued to see who those teams wind up being. It's going to be a lot of fun. Indiana is 1,000% going to be in the mix. Fox Sports put up a graphic the other day ranking the 10 best receivers in college football. Elijah Sarat made the list. He was 8th. And look, if he has another year like he did last year, which really wasn't even, it was good, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't even that absurd. 53 receptions in 13 games. That's 4 a night, 957 yards, and 8 touchdowns. That's, it's all right. Is that worthy of being the 8th best receiver in college football? I don't know. We're going to find out. I hope that he is, because Indiana's they're going to have to put up some points this year. And, if Elijah Sarat can have another big year, then that'll obviously help out with that quite a bit. When we come back here in about 4 minutes, I've got some NFL rookie predictions that I want to get into, just kind of, what to expect from all these different guys that got drafted. We're obviously going to start with Tyler Warren and just kind of how he's going to be covered this year. I'm really excited, obviously, to watch him play football. I know that you are as well. And I've just got some thoughts on how he'll be covered this season when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
Dockage at noon. The Real Jonathan Smith Show. Now, this is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching on X, _ Jonathan Smith, if you want to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app, or you can listen on 1430 AM if you're driving around Indy. Zack Gray joining the show here in an hour with some bets, and we'll continue to talk a little college football. NFL rookies. NFL season quickly approaching. Colts had their first preseason game in less than a week. We are 6 days out. Tuesday, they have a joint practice with the Baltimore Ravens. It'll be interesting. Now, I want to make, I guess their predictions for the rookies, and I want to start with Tyler Warren. I think he is going to be the under-the-radar guy that people don't talk about enough. Tyler Warren, I think, is going to show up in the NFL and be very productive very quickly, right? Seems like he's grasping the offense pretty fast. Seems like they're kind of, they're going to hand him the football, and they're going to find creative ways to get this guy the ball, because when he gets it, like, he's tough to bring down and he's pretty explosive in the open field. The thing is, I think he's going to have a similar year to Brock Bowers, not in terms of production. But last year, we talked a lot about Malik Neighbors. We talked a lot about Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. Why? Mainly Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels. Why? Because they were on really good teams and they played really well. And we talked about Malik Neighbors a bunch because he played in New York. We didn't talk about Brock Bowers very much because he plays in Las Vegas, while a bigger market than Indianapolis, not as big as Chicago or New York or LA or any place like that. And we just kind of looked up at one point and everyone was like, oh, Brock Bowers is a stud. He's doing that with those guys throwing him the football. Oh my gosh. And I think there's going to be a very similar reaction to Tyler Warren this year, because I don't think that the Colts are going to be very good. I think they're going to win, 6 or 7 games. And we're going to look up at the end of the year and be like, wow, Tyler Warren had 800 receiving yards and he caught 75 passes. Oh my gosh, like, that's incredible. So that's kind of the year that I expect for Tyler Warren to have. Like, he's going to have a good year, but we're not going to notice because the Colts aren't very good. Travis Hunter. He's the most interesting rookie this season. Obviously, attempting to play both sides of the ball. Like, that is obviously a big deal. Never been done before. All that kind of stuff. And I am just so incredibly fascinated to see how it goes. Like, I'm just so intrigued by it. Like, how good is he going to be playing corner? Can he really play both sides of the ball? Like, he's an incredible athlete who is obviously in outstanding shape. That's not my question. My question isn't the endurance. My question is, getting hit by NFL dudes is very different than getting hit by some kid that played at Colorado State. It's very different. So, Travis Hunter, most interesting rookie this season. Can he play both sides of the ball? I think he's going to be fine doing it, just because corners don't get hit a ton. Receivers obviously do, going over the middle, but I think he's primarily going to play corner. Abdul Carter, I think he's going to be the most impactful rookie on defense. That Giants front seven is actually kind of nasty. Like, they've got, Dexter Lawrence, and they just bring in Abdul Carter, and they got good linebackers. Like, the front seven for them is going to be pretty good. I think Abdul Carter will win Defensive Rookie of the Year, because he's going to have, like, probably somewhere around 9 sacks coming off the edge. He's a good run defender. All the things that they say about edge rushers, he has the bend, So Abdul Carter of the New York Giants, I do think is going to be the most impactful defensive rookie this season, with just his ability to get after the passer. Offensively, the most impactful, not the best, the most impactful offensive rookie is going to be Teteroa McMillan, the big wide receiver out of Arizona that the Panthers took in the first round. Now, he's going to be the most impactful because the Carolina Panthers don't have very many good wide receivers. It's McMillan, it's Hunter Renfrow. And then you're throwing the ball to Adam Thielen, who I like. Hey, he's had a good career, but come on. Adam Thielen at this point in his career, like, you don't want him being one of your three best receivers. So I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunities for McMillan just because he's on a roster that doesn't really have a ton of great receivers. So he'll be the most impactful offensive rookie because of that. Ashton Jeanty will be the best rookie because I think the learning curve for playing running back in the NFL, it is the lowest of every position, right? Because the way that you take handoffs in college is the same way that you take handoffs in the NFL. The way that you pick up pass blocking in the college is pretty similar to how you do it in the NFL. Whereas receiver, you're learning a different route tree. Quarterback, there's, obviously just a ton there, right? Reading defenses, protections, all that kind of stuff, right? If you play offensive line, the guys that you're blocking, very different than the guys that you blocked in college, right? If you're playing defensive line, the guys blocking you, very different than the guys that blocked you in college. So I think Ashton Jeanty will show up in Las Vegas and be really good, really fast. Simple as that. Final thing, I think Jahad Campbell and Malachi Starks will be the most successful rookies. Mainly because we talk a lot about fit, and that's really the most important thing with all of these guys. Who's your head coach? What system are you in? All that kind of stuff. Every rookie shows up in Philadelphia and seems to like not have any sort of blip. Like they're just like, yeah, I'm going to be good right now. And that's because the coaching there is really good, and they draft guys who fit how they want to play. So Jahad Campbell, it's not really a bet on him. It's more of a bet on the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's the same thing for Malachi Starks, who was taken by the Ravens. He's going to play safety. Like, he's going to show up and be really good, really fast because he's going to play for the Ravens. It's less about Malachi Starks, although he is a really good player. Same thing with Jahad Campbell, right? The first linebacker taken, Malachi Starks, the first safety taken. So there's obviously talent there, but it's more of a bet on their organizations. They're going to win games, and they're going to play important roles in those wins. I want to move now to college basketball because, Indiana is practicing and everyone's practicing, and, people are starting to get excited about, all sorts of stuff. And every coach says this now, and it kind of bothers me at this point. Coach DeVries did a little media session yesterday, and he said something that I keep hearing all these coaches say, and it's just fundamentally not true. Here is Coach DeVries pulling out the newest cliche in college basketball.
What I've liked is that the guys seem like they've played together for a lot longer than they have, these 2 months. When you watch the practice tape, it looks like, a group that's been together for 2 or 3 years. The way they've really been moving it and sharing it. I think we got a group that really understands offense as well. They understand, screening and finding, windows to get opportunities to find and locate those shots. But, like I said, they've done a really good job to this point of being unselfish, moving the ball, sharing the ball, taking care of the ball. And then guys have taken care or advantage of those opportunities when they've gotten them. And I do like, the fact that we do have some versatility from a shot making perspective.
Coach DeVries, new Indiana head basketball coach right there, just pulling out the cliche immediately. We got all these new guys. They've only been together for 2 months, but it seems like they've been playing together for like 2 or 3 years. Every college basketball coach says this. And I'm sorry, but it's just not true for any of them. Like, this isn't a Coach DeVries pointed thing. Like, this is about every coach in college basketball, because every single one appears to say this. And I'm sorry, but there's no way that these teams are playing with the same synergy and the same chemistry as what I think is the best example of this, the Indiana Pacers this last year. Like, that was a team that had been together for 2 years, and guys were cutting off of one another and setting good screens and moving off of them properly and all that kind of stuff. I don't care how much these new Indiana basketball players understand how offense works. I don't care how much they hang out. One of the new guard from Sam Houston State, he said that they hang out all the time. Like, that's awesome. I'm glad that they hang out all the time. That's so great. There's no way that these guys are playing and operating like they've been playing together for the last 2 years. You know what they probably play like? they all probably play and operate like they've all been playing basketball for a really long time. And they're just playing basketball with other dudes who understand how to play. That's probably what it really looks like. They don't look like they've been playing together for the last 2 years. Like, that is just absurd. Absolutely absurd to me. Like, they don't look like that. I guarantee it. Okay. The other thing, so like that bothered me yesterday. This other thing bothered me too. Can we just stop with the Luka Doncic media parade of saying he's not fat anymore? I mean, like, this is kind of insane. Like, the fact that Luka is just like, he was on ABC the other day. And, they're talking to him. They're like, oh, like, you look like it wasn't even a sports show. He was on like Good Morning America. I don't think it was that, but like it's like on some like normal TV show. They're like, Luka, you're not fat anymore. Why aren't you fat anymore? And Luka's like, oh, well, I haven't played basketball in a month. I've just been working out. It's the first time in my life that I've stopped playing basketball. I don't need this. You don't need this. Like, we get it. Luka plays for the Lakers now, and he's getting in shape. Fantastic. I'm so glad for the guy, right? Because he was leaving a lot of potential out there. But like, I don't need this whole offseason, let's go on tour and say that Luka isn't fat anymore. Let's put him on the cover of a magazine and let's get him on ABC so we can tell the world that he's no longer fat. Last little short story that I found yesterday that I find interesting. Candace Parker, I guess, like, she's got a podcast, which I didn't know, but should have assumed because everyone has a podcast. And I think she does it with Aaliyah Boston. Like, that's kind of the understanding that I have. And I guess that they hadn't done it's their first episode. Okay, that makes sense. I guess that, yeah, since it was their first episode, they talked about, this is Candace Parker and Aaliyah Boston. They talked about the shirts that the WNBA All-Stars wore. And Candace Parker actually made a really good point that kind of made me like Candace Parker a little bit more. Here she is talking to Aaliyah Boston about them wearing the Pay Us What You Owe Us shirts.
Y'all cannot come out there with those shirts of pay us what you owe us and then do that in the All-Star game.
No. Here's the thing. We come out every single night and we show why we deserve the money we deserve. An All-Star game where when we have another game in 2 days, I think that is okay to just go out there and hoop and have some fun. Because on Tuesday, we were back at it and we were playing and we were showing once again why we deserve to get paid.
I think on one of the biggest stages with people tuned in an all-star setting that was invested in more than any other all-star game previously without Caitlin Clark, right? She was not playing. I think it was an opportunity to really go out there, and it was an added opportunity. It's not going to subtract anything, but I think the narrative on Monday would have been, well, how come the guys don't play an all-star game? How come these ladies come out there and they hoop and they understand their responsibility? Like, I just think that it would have really maximized the moment of wearing the shirt along with giving the product. Because I tried to watch the All-Star game, I'll be honest. But after one slow Euro step and people pulling up for them, I was like, I can't. I'm a fan of the WNBA and I can't watch this. So I just think that, no, you all didn't have to. But I think it was an opportunity that you could have built on, like, more momentum, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does make sense. But live, laugh, and love.
I hate the way she closes that. But Candace Parker with a great, honest evaluation of what the WNBA All-Star game was. That's really hard to find, especially from former WNBA players. They all live in La La Land, it seems like, and they just say things that aren't true. So I appreciate Candace Parker calling out these WNBA players for not playing at a high level in the All-Star game. And she's right. It was a wasted opportunity. That is the last thing that I will say about the WNBA All-Star game. Zack Gray is joining the show here in about 45 minutes. He's going to have bets. It's going to be awesome. We're going to talk more college football. It's going to be great. Ross Campbell chiming in saying Luka and Anthony Richardson talked, and they decided to stop with eating the Skittles. You're right, Ross. They did. Look at Anthony Richardson, such a leader. You know, he picked up the phone. He said, "Hey, Luka, I don't want to eat Skittles anymore, and I don't think you should either. Come along this Skittleless journey with me." And Luka's like, "You know what, Anthony? You're right. I would love to follow you into this Skittleless world." Anthony Richardson, what a leader. What a leader. Zack Gray here in 45 minutes when we come back. Speaking of Anthony Richardson, he's changing his diet. We're going to talk about that when we come back here in about 4.5 minutes. And also, who's the Colts starting quarterback going to be week 1? It's August 1st. So we make that prediction when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
do this. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, no matter whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X, _ Jonathan Smith, to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. You can also listen on 1430 AM if you're driving around the Indianapolis area. It's August 1st, so later on today, when I'm on the Dan Dockett Show, running the board, pushing all the buttons, we will talk about who we think is going to be the Colts starting quarterback, as we do on the first, or as we have done on the first of every month this offseason. So let me just get out ahead of it a little bit. I still think, because this is what I said July 1st, I still think that Daniel Jones is going to be the starter. I think that the Colts like the idea of knowing exactly what they're going to get with him, because that's something that they haven't had at quarterback really since Phillip Rivers left. Carson Wentz was up and down. The Matt Ryan stuff went horridly, and then they had to play Sam Ehlinger, and then last year it was like Richardson, no, it's Flacco, no, it's Richardson, no, it's Flacco, back and forth. And I think they just really like the idea of, like, you know what? Daniel Jones may not be very good, but I know exactly what he can do. And that's really nice to have. It is, right? So I think that, Shane Steichen, who hasn't had consistent quarterback play really since he got here, unless you want to argue Gardner Minshew, but even Minshew was a little up and down, 15 touchdown passes. He did throw 9 picks that year. Like, that's not a great touchdown to interception ratio. So I think that Shane Steichen just likes the idea of, like, you know what? I like the idea of knowing exactly what I'm going to get time in and time out every time the huddle is broken. Now, I say that, and all the Anthony Richardson fanboys they get very upset, and all the Daniel Jones fanboys, I can't believe that they're Daniel Jones fanboys, but there are. They get very excited. Like, yeah, Jonathan, told you, 67% completion percentage. He's won a playoff game. It's great. I don't know about great, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. With that being said, camp is still going on, right? Things change every single day, okay? They do. Guys play well, guys play bad. And for Anthony Richardson, to put it in the words of all the Colts media people, he's stacking days, baby. He's just stacking them, just good day after good day after good day. That's what everyone's saying. And Shane Steichen confirmed those reports last night after their practice. Here's what Coach Steichen had to say about Anthony Richardson and his training camp performance so far.
I think everything's cleaner right now. He's playing at a high level. He's making good decisions with the football, taking the completions when needed. So it's been really good to see.
Been really good to see. He's taking the completions when needed. He's just making smart decisions with the football. That's good. That's awesome. I am so glad to hear that. It sounds like Anthony Richardson has legitimately gotten better at playing quarterback. The full off season to go work really hard and work on the footwork and the accuracy and all those important things. Like that has apparently happened. And that's great. I love that Shane Steichen said all those super positive things about Anthony Richardson. With that being said, doesn't really mean much to me. What's Shane Steichen going to do? Hey, coach, Anthony Richardson really struggled last year. Seems like he's having a pretty good camp so far. Why? What's different? Oh, well, he's actually not that different. He's still not very good. Like, he's not going to say that. Like, that's not going to happen. He's not going to rip Anthony Richardson in front of a camera in that spot. It's not going to happen. Like, he's going to be positive. Even last year when Anthony Richardson was bad, Shane Steichen didn't utter a bad word about the dude. Okay, and based on everything being reported, to be fair, there's a lot to be happy about, right? Like, there's 30 videos a night of Anthony Richardson throwing the football to someone, right? Like that's what it is. And like last night, there's videos of him like dropping a really nice pass to Ashton Doolin, and it's cool, it's great. I'm glad that he's playing well, but I don't care. I don't. Okay, like, we're going to figure out, starting this next week, who has the real edge in terms of who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. Because on Tuesday, Colts go to Baltimore, and they have their first joint practice against the Baltimore Ravens, a defense that should be pretty stout once again this year, a defense that is good enough to win the Super Bowl. They're going to go scrimmage against that defense, and they're going to do their 2-minute drill against that defense, and Nate Wiggins and Malachi Starks and Kyle Hamilton, who played at Notre Dame. And that is the day that we will begin to really kind of see who has it in terms of who can be the starting quarterback for this Colts team, right? And then after that, Thursday night, NFL Network, 7:30, they're going to have their first preseason game against the Baltimore Ravens. Right? So Tuesday is the first day that we're going to get a real look. And then Thursday, we're going to get our second real look. And then because the Ravens are they're 15-1 in their last 16 preseason games. It's kind of crazy. So after those two events, the joint practice against Baltimore and then the preseason game against Baltimore, that is when we will have an idea of who has the edge in the actual quarterback battle. That is when I might be inclined to change my opinion as to who's going to be the starter week 1. I hope that it's Anthony Richardson. And I hope that all these days that he's stacking, I hope that there's some validity to them. And I hope that it continues to, improve, and that he continues to play well, and that he continues to make good decisions with the football, and he continues to not turn it over and be accurate and take the completions when they're there, right? Like that was the biggest thing for me with him last year. I thought that there was just this consistent unwillingness to hit the check down, and the check down is okay sometimes, right? You never go broke taking a profit, which in football isn't perfectly normal because, if you don't have a profit of 10 yards in 4 plays, then you do go broke. You turn the ball over on down. So not the best analogy, but you know what I mean, right? His average depth of target last year, Anthony Richardson's was 12. It's 12 and a half yards. That's not sustainable. So while it seems like Anthony Richardson's moving in the right direction, I can't just forget all the bad stuff that happened for the last 2 years. You can't just throw that away. I'm not buying into Anthony Richardson after a few good training camp practices against a team that just signed 2 cornerbacks off the street yesterday. That's a really important part of this. It is. The linebackers for the Colts, not very good. They're just not. The pass rush for the Colts, not very good. We haven't heard anything about it. Haven't heard anything about Latu or Buckner or any of those guys. So against a defense that doesn't have a great pass rush, doesn't have great linebackers, a defense where Jalen Jones and Juju Brent's 2 guys that were competing to play some reps this year, they both got hurt. So last night, Anthony Richardson's throwing the football against 2 corners that the Colts just signed off the street. Sorry, but I'm not buying into that. I need to see him play well against Baltimore, and I probably need to see him play well against Green Bay in that joint practice and preseason game as well. Okay, so I'm glad that things are moving in the right direction for him, but I've got to see more because we haven't seen enough from him so far this season. But with that being said, Anthony Richardson isn't just getting better physically, but he might be maturing a little bit, which is every bit as important as the physical improvements that they've apparently seen from him so far in these, practices during training camp. So Anthony Richardson, I guess his diet used to be terrible, and he's cleaned that up. Stephen Holder, who covers the Colts for ESPN, he has an article up over on ESPN.com where he talks about how Anthony Richardson has changed his eating habits. Anthony Richardson said, quote, I had to cut the sweets out, man. It's the candy. I used to be big on Skittles and all that stuff, just eating candy all the time. So I've been just trying to cut out the sugary stuff and hydrate more. I need to be more of a pro when it comes to my eating. Jeez, Anthony. I just love comparing where Anthony Richardson was when he came into the league to where Cam Ward's at with the Titans, where he gave this awesome 2-minute rant where he's like, every day my dad would wake up at 4:30 in the morning to go to a job that he didn't like. And I just feel like if my dad can get up at 4:30 to go to a job that he doesn't like, then I can get up at 4:30 to go to a job that I do like. It's like, yeah, that's good. The guy sounds pretty mature. Sounds like he's working really hard to figure this stuff out and to be a good NFL quarterback. And then it's like, and then you compare that to Anthony Richardson's rookie year, where he's just sitting in his locker, eating Skittles. All right, man. That's cool. The guy, Anthony Richardson, clearly wasn't mature enough those first 2 seasons. And this is just more proof of that. Right? Not eating right. Last year there were, he didn't meet with the offensive line coach to learn protections until after he got benched. It was just not good. There was just a lot of evidence that he didn't understand what it took to play quarterback in the NFL. And there's a part of me that wants to have some grace for him, right? Because he was 21 years old. And they were like, hey, 21-year-old, you are now the face of the franchise, even though you barely played at Florida. Good luck, buddy. That's a really tough thing to put on the shoulders of a 21-year-old, whereas Cam Ward's 24, 25, somewhere around there. But the good news for Anthony Richardson is that he's fixing some of these issues. This is evidence that he's starting to mature a little bit, and he's starting to figure out what it takes to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, not just from a physical standpoint, right? Because you can tell me or him what it takes to be a starting quarterback from a physical standpoint, right? Are you big? Are you strong? Are you athletic enough? Can you move around the pocket? Can you avoid sacks when you throw the football? Are you accurate? Do you have the arm strength to kind of drive the ball through smaller windows? Can you do that? All that kind of stuff. Like the physical stuff is not hard to see. It's all the other stuff. Is the work ethic there? And it seems like it is. He talked, the other day, I said that I listened to his press conference after one of their practices, and it was the first time that I heard Anthony Richardson do a press conference. I was like, yeah, this guy looks and sounds like an NFL quarterback. And he was talking about the importance of doing more and how he's in his playbook a little bit more often and how he needs to be a little bit more vocal as a leader and all these other very important things, right? So the maturity seems to be coming along. It's just coming along a little bit later than what it probably needed to. And I'm not one to give Chris Ballard a ton of credit for stuff, but part of this could be the fact that Anthony Richardson knew going into the offseason that there was going to be a competition at the quarterback position and that the Colts were going to go out and find someone to compete with him. Because look, when someone's coming for not only your job in this case, but your future. Because look, if Anthony Richardson gets beat out by Daniel Jones, then the narrative around him shifts entirely from, big, athletic, strong kid who's got all the tools. He just needs some fine-tuning to. This guy got beat up by Daniel Jones, the guy who got beat out last year by Tommy DeVito. Geez, man, that's brutal. So I'm glad that he's maturing. I'm glad that Shane Steichen says that he's getting better and he's figuring it out and he's taking what the defense gives him. That's awesome. That's important. And hopefully that continues in Baltimore because the Colts want, and you as a Colts fan should want, for Anthony Richardson to be the starter because we know what Daniel Jones is. We've seen him for 6 years in New York be really bad time and time again. Maybe he's Geno Smith. Maybe he's Sam Darnold. Yeah, he's probably not. He's probably not. So, I still want to go back to what I said on Wednesday. I think that the threshold for, this guy's a legitimate franchise quarterback is 5 playoff wins. If you go through it and you look at all the quarterbacks who have won 5 playoff games or more, then you feel pretty good about who those guys are as starting quarterbacks. Can you really picture Daniel Jones winning 5 playoff games? I can't. Can you picture him winning more than one in a single postseason run? No. But with Anthony Richardson, I absolutely can, because the talent is that crazy. And if he's matured a little bit, he's working a little bit harder, and he's figured out some of the accuracy stuff, and he's a little more disciplined in terms of the windows that he tries to throw in versus, taking the check down, then maybe, just maybe, Anthony Richardson can turn into a guy who wins, 6 or 7 playoff games in his career, and he wins like 4 in one postseason run. I think that would be pretty awesome. So when we come back here in about 4 minutes, we are 22 days away, 3 weeks out from the start of the college football season. We are 29 days away from what's going to be one of the biggest college football games of the year, Ohio State, Texas. Like, that's going to be a lot of fun to watch as well. So college football storylines, I want to go over what I find to be some of the more interesting ones. Zack Gray just texted me. He sadly cannot come on today. He's got a work call that he sadly has to be on. So what a bummer. It's all right. We keep it rolling here on the Real Jonathan Smith Show. College football, most interesting storylines when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
It may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you are tuning in. I'm joined now by the one and only Zack Gray, professional sports gambler. No bets today, but that's okay, because Zack is just an interesting guy, full of takes that usually contrast against mine, so it's good. Zack, what's going on, man? How are you?
Jimmy Smith, what's up, man?
We're 22 days away from college football. That's what's up. That's what I'm so excited about that.
You know I can't wait. You know how much I love college football.
Oh, I know you do. And I was going through it today, and I was looking at what I think are the more interesting storylines. Are you more interested in Bill Belichick's first year at North Carolina or Deion Sanders' first year at Colorado without his kids?
Without a doubt, Deion.
Really? Why?
Yeah, it's not even close. Because I've seen, we kind of understand what the culture that Bill Belichick is going to give. And North Carolina's not in a position to really contend. So I don't find them as fascinating as everyone else does. I think we start to see really what the Bill Belichick era at UNC is, year 2, year 3. I think this year isn't going to be great. I think they're going to kind of be scrutinized and things like that. But I think for the most part, they'll be under the radar. But Colorado is just so interesting, man, especially with the news about Deion coming out and how, everyone was saying, he's going to retire. He's going to leave Colorado. You don't go through what he's gone through in this offseason unless you really, really want to coach. And him sticking around and doing that, it's super interesting. I'm a Colorado guy. I'm a Prime guy. So I'm a little biased there, but I can't wait for him to prove people wrong.
I think he's a good coach. I think I'm going to like him more this year just because his kids aren't there. And I actually think that'll make people like him more. Because it's just kind of
more.
You said what?
I don't think people will like him either way. I think respect is the right word.
Okay, that's fair. Because it just kind of felt like everything last year, and I'm like, this isn't true. This is just what it felt like. It felt like everything was about Shedeur and Travis, which is fine. Like they were the two best players on that team, and they were usually the two best players on the field. But when one of them is your kid, I think that just kind of turns people off a little bit. So this year, I think people are going to come around a little bit more. So
hold on.
What?
Hold on. We see so many coaches coach their kids, and now it turns people off because it's Deion Sanders.
I don't think anyone likes it. No one likes. Let me speak for myself. I'm never a fan of that.
Brom. No one said anything about Brom, Tucker, and whatever his name is, DeVries. We have so many instances like this where we find it cool. The majority finds it awesome or sick to play for their dad. And now all of a sudden, because it's Deion Sanders, we have a problem with it.
I'm not a fan of it period, really. But I see what you're saying. Your point is very valid. I think the guy that I'm going to dislike the most this year, and it's really weird me saying this, once again, joined by Zack Gray, at ZG The Grapevine on Twitter. He's a professional sports gambler. If you click the link in his X bio, it'll take you to his Patreon where he sells tools to help you make better bets. I think the guy that I'm going to dislike the most this year, Zack, is Arch Manning, and it's not his fault because I think we're just the Paul Feinbaum stuff is absurd, and the people around here in Indy are kind of absurd about him. And I think there's just so much hype for Arch Manning that it's going to make me not like him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just watched the interview with Marty Smith. I don't know if you've caught that. He's just a really humble, good guy. I think he's obviously a Manning, and both of Eli and Peyton were consummate professionals when they were playing, did things the right way, handled their business, worked hard. I think he's got a lot of that, and he's just a really good dude. And I hate that he's going to get the Tebow treatment.
The Tebow treatment. Okay. That
in the media.
Yeah. That's the thing. My issue with Arch isn't I think people are going to like him because, like you said, from the interviews I've seen, he seems nice. He seems very normal. The thing that I don't like about it is I feel like he's just been crowned as like, this guy's going to be the number 1 overall pick, and he's only going to play 1 year at Texas. Oh, and by the way, he's going to win the Heisman, and Texas is probably going to win the national title this year. I'm just like, that seems like a lot for a guy who started against UTSA, was not that great.
And the reason why I like him so much, to go to that point, it's like he's aware of that and he acknowledges that he hasn't done anything. I feel like sometimes in these situations, no one ever like attacks that head on, but I've heard him say flat out several times, like, I don't deserve this attention. I haven't done anything. And I think that really will kind of help temper people's like crazy takes or reactions to a bad game. Like he's kind of set his own standard with everyone with his own words. Like, look, I still have to go out and prove it. I haven't done anything yet. And, it's up to me to live up to that and do that. But as of right now, I haven't. I think that is such a good quality and something. And I think more athletes in his scenario should do that and just say, hey, point blank, I haven't done anything yet. I think that's really, really gonna help the public perception of him if he were to struggle at any point in the season, which he will, because he's, first year starter.
That's a really good point. And I agree. I am so excited for week 1, Texas and Ohio State. That game is going to be, it's so fascinating because we don't know, we know who Arch Manning is. I'm blanking on the Ohio State quarterback's name right now. Jaden, what's his last name?
Julian Fan or Lincoln Keenholz.
Yeah, that's right. Because it seems like it's going to be saying though, right?
I don't know, man. I think it's a legitimate battle. Keenholz is an absolute freak of nature from an athletic standpoint. I think he's a little right now. I think that Sayan obviously has the highest ceiling and can really elevate the team in a level that I don't think Keenholz can get to. But Keenholz right now seems to have the highest floor. And Keenholz is a really, really good athlete, can run. Julian Sand can't really do that as well. We saw Ohio State's offense when they had a quarterback run threat last year. Arm talent-wise and everything that goes along with playing quarterback as a drop-back passer, Julian Sand is one of the most talented arms in the country. But I think it's actually close, man. I think it's closer than people are giving it credit for.
Okay. Joined by Zack Gray, professional sports gambler at ZG The Grapevine on X. Make sure you check out the link in his bio where he sells tools to help you make better bets. Yeah. Either way, though, I think we're gonna get week 1. We were I guess it's listed as week 1, but it's really week 2. I don't like how they do that. Anyway, we are immediately going to get to see some of the new important characters in college football because, Ohio State's replacing 8 starters on defense. Not saying that they're going to be worse, just saying that there's going to be so many new faces on 2 teams that are probably going to make the playoff. So just kind of from what you've heard, who are some of those faces on Ohio State besides the quarterback that people should kind of be wary of?
Yeah, I think on the defensive end, there's a couple guys. Kenyatta Jackson, he's a defensive end. He's 6'6". He's got the prototype pass rusher build. He's a former 5-star. This is his first year starting. He's been in the program for 4 years. He sat patiently behind Jack and JT and got some rotation time last year. Had a big play in the national title game, but I think he's a name where you could look up at the draft board at the end of the season, and he's a top 10 pick. He's that good from a talent perspective. He knows he can play the run well, but he's really good. I think another defensive player for Ohio State is Arvell Reese. He's 6'4", 250 and runs a 4.5. He's a freak of nature. And then on the offensive end, Mylan Graham for Ohio State. Keep an eye out for Mylan Graham.
Okay. The other thing that I'm really interested by this year, and I've had to change my stance a little bit on what I'm looking forward to in college football. I'm now less interested in terms of an end result for the best teams in college football. I just kind of assume that, the top 3 teams in the Big Ten are going to make the playoff and the top 3 teams in the SEC are going to make the playoff. And then from there, that is for me where the interest kind of starts. Who do you think are a couple of those teams that are going to be hanging around that 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 ranking at the end of the year?
Yeah, I think Illinois is an interesting team. I know that's kind of trendy. South Carolina, I think it has a chance to do that. And then I think a team, unfortunately, like Michigan will probably be in that range.
Yeah, well, Michigan's got that cupcake schedule. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit. It's the Indiana schedule from last year, but because they're Michigan, they don't have to play against Michigan. So they really only have Ohio State, and they should win the other 11, I think, pretty handily. What about Florida? I'm kind of intrigued by Lagway. It seems like Napier's got some good stuff, some good stuff going down there. I think they're a team that might be able to sneak in as well. I don't know what their schedule looks like, but that's definitely a team that I'm kind of watching for. It is? Oh,
it's
great.
a gauntlet.
Great.
It's like last year, and Lagway's in a boot right now. There's not a coach in the country that is more reliant on one single player on their team than Billy Napier, and DJ Lagway can't stay healthy. We're, what you said, 22 days away, and their quarterback's in a walking boot. His job hinges on DJ Lagway. If DJ Lagway plays and is healthy, I think Florida's a playoff team. If not, Billy Napier is not going to make it to October.
Yeah, that's probably right. Joined by Zack Gray, professional sports gambler at ZG The Grapevine on X. If you check out the link in his bio, it'll take you to his Patreon where he sells tools to help you make better bets. Can I make a case for, I know we talked about this earlier. I'm going to go back to it. Bill Belichick in North Carolina. Have you seen the schedule?
I have not.
Dude, it is. Dude,
you want to play the schedule game?
It's like a birthday party, bro. There's just cupcakes everywhere. I mean,
let's play the schedule game.
Like, if North Carolina went 10-2 or 11-1 and made the playoff, I would not be surprised.
Let's go through it. Let's play the schedule game.
They play TCU to open.
That's a loss.
They're at Charlotte. That's a win. Richmond at home. That's a win. They're at UCF.
That's a loss.
You think so? You believe in Scott Frost?
I do.
Okay. All right. We'll say
2-2. Clemson's a loss.
Clemson's a loss. At Cal.
Cal's a win.
Virginia at home's a win. At Syracuse
is a loss.
Probably so that's 3 losses. Stanford at home.
Stanford's a win.
Yep. Wake Forest is a win.
Duke's a loss.
And then at NC State.
I think they lose that game too.
Really?
6-6.
I think that puts them at 7-5. Which is
I think
the
that's
under.
A good little thing. Let's wager a dinner on that. Let's set the over. Let's set the win total at 6.5. I'll take the under.
Okay, here, let me write that down because I will forget. Yeah, that works. We can do that. UNC over 6.5. All right. Because I just and this is where I'm going to get in trouble. I just can't picture. I think Mike Elko. No, he's not the head coach at Duke anymore. Who's the head coach at Duke now?
Manny Diaz.
Yeah, like I can't picture Manny Diaz beating Bill Belichick. Like that doesn't make sense in my brain, you know?
UNC has a win total of 7.5 on the books.
Do you want to go to that?
7.5 is plus. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, that's a little more fair than 6. Right, UNC over.
Yeah, I'll still take the under.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. 7.5. All right. Sounds good. Dinner on it. I like it. Who's the team that you like that you feel like people aren't discussing enough?
Washington.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that Damon Williams is really, really good. I think they're going to make some noise in the Big Ten. I like their schedule. They have Ohio State coming in. They're really tough at home. I think there was a stat where they've won like 26 out of 28 recently at home. I don't think they beat Ohio State, but I think they have a chance to be really good and be right in the thick of the playoff. I want to add them to my to the question earlier. I think they're definitely a sneaky, fringy, dark horse playoff team.
Okay. Last thing for you, and I will let you go. Major League Baseball trade deadline hit last night at 6:00. What'd you like and what'd you not like? Just really quick.
I like the Reds getting a better version of Santiago Espinal, a guy that can't hit but can play defense. It's certainly what they needed for a lineup that's about 3 or 4 deep.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Was there any team in the National League that you thought made a big enough move to close what feels like a really large gap between everyone else and the Dodgers?
Ooh, that's tough, man. I don't really.
I didn't feel like there was.
Yeah, I don't think there was. I think there were some interesting moves, but I don't know if there's any that really get teams over the top.
Yeah, I like Shane Bieber going to Toronto. I know he's coming off an injury, but I like Toronto going to win the AL. They might.
I think they do. I think they keep it rolling.
Yeah, which is awesome for me because I love Bo Bichette. I don't know anyone who doesn't love Vladdy Jr. Max Scherzer being in the fold is always awesome because he's just the most intense pitcher, not ever, but you know what I mean. Like the intensity that he brings is always fun. So I hope they do, man.
Yeah, baseball is interesting around this time. Trade deadline, getting new pieces in there, and then kind of making that last playoff effort. I can't believe the Reds are still in it. They've had pretty up and down season so far, but somehow I look up and they're 57 and 53. They're right there in the thick of the wild card. I just have to shout out my Redlegs because I'm a big fan.
I know you are. Last thing for real. I know this is the fourth time I've said it. I think I'm going to bet the Bengals under 9.5 wins because they won 9 last year, and I don't feel like they did much to get better. What do you think?
I think they win 10. I think they just have the talent off. I think just Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, and Chase Brown being in the backfield. I think that's enough to win you 10 games if everyone's healthy. I think that this is finally the year where things kind of get corrected early in the season. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to start off 4-0, but I don't think they're going to start off 0-4. I think, looking at their history, if they avoid that type of stretch where they start 1-3 or 0-4 or whatever, they're a 10-win team. They won 9 last year with all the struggles. So I think over 9.5 is a pretty good bet. So
okay.
Apologies on that.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Dude, thanks for making a little bit of time. Good luck on your call, man. And I'll see you a week from tomorrow.
Yes, sir. I can't wait.
Can't wait, man. See you, buddy. That is Zack Gray. You can check him out on X at ZG The Grapevine. Once again, click the link in his bio. It'll take you to his Patreon where he sells tools to help you make better bets. Dude is tearing it up in the world of baseball betting right now. So head over there, subscribe to his stuff. I'm telling you, it is 1,000% worth it. So go and check out his stuff. When we come back here in about 4 minutes or so, we're going to keep the college football conversation going. Probably talk a little bit about the NFL rookies as well when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X _ Jonathan Smith. If you want to follow me there and watch the show there, you can also listen, of course, on that Indies Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And, of course, you can listen on 1430 AM as well if you're in the Indianapolis area. Now, 22 days away from college football. I can't wait. We are a week away, less than a week away, 6 days away from the Colts' first preseason game, getting to see, Daniel Jones and, of course, Anthony Richardson against, like real passes, like live reps against not the Colts defense. And we're actually going to get a good look at who can play and who can't. And I can't wait. Like football season, like you can taste it, Oh, Jonathan, football season's here. The Hall of Fame game last night. The Hall of Fame game is like an appetizer for all the real football that we're going to get coming up here in the next few weeks. And I can't wait. I am just so fascinated by all the storylines that are going to happen in college football this year, whether it's Bill Belichick in North Carolina, Deion Sanders coaching without his kids. How good is Arch Manning going to be? There's all these new quarterbacks at big-time schools. Who's going to kind of emerge out of nowhere in college football? Who's that team going to be in the NFL this year? Like who is going to have this Washington Commanders-like bounce back where they're really bad, and then the following year it's like, oh, wow, they not only made the playoffs, but they made it to the NFC title game. Not saying that, that exactly is going to happen, but it's a really interesting thing. And I can't wait. I think it's going to be a blast. And the rookies in the NFL are a large part of that, right? And so I've got some pretty basic predictions for some of the rookies in the NFL this year. I think Tyler Warren is going to be the best under-the-radar rookie. Like, he is going to be completely forgotten about for the majority of the season. And then late in the year, we're going to be like, oh, wow, Tyler Warren, really good at football. Because that's what happened to him. Or, excuse me, that's what happened to Brock Bowers last year. And I think we're going to get a similar thing with Tyler Warren. Brock Bowers just puts together the best rookie season in the history of tight ends. Like, it's just outstanding. He's catching passes and he's, big-time yards and only 5 touchdowns, but the receptions and the yardage was 1,000% there from Brock Bowers. And I think we're going to get something pretty similar with Tyler Warren, because last year, no one paid attention to Brock Bowers because the Raiders weren't very good at football. And all of a sudden we looked up in like week 13 and we're like, holy crap, look at Brock Bowers. He's like pacing to break all these rookie tight end records. And all of a sudden, like, you had an interest in the Raiders, slightly, not much, but there was a little bit there. And I think we're going to get something similar with Tyler Warren. You and I will obviously be locked into Tyler Warren all season long because we're going to watch all 17 of these Colts games, whether they go 17-0 or 0-17. Both are on the board. And so we're going to witness a really good Tyler Warren season. But the rest of the country, it's going to be like the Colts are they're 5-10 right now. Like, why would we? Oh, Tyler Warren having a good year. Like, let's see what he looks like. So I think Tyler Warren will be the under-the-radar guy that people kind of pick up on later in the year when they're looking at, like, who's going to lead tight ends and receiving yards and all those things. Travis Hunter, he's the most interesting rookie this year. If you told me that the most interesting story in the sport was Travis Hunter, I think I would allow that. Because we've never seen a guy try to do what Travis Hunter is about to do. Like, sure, Deion Sanders, he had a season where he lined up at receiver like a little bit, and he had like 36 receptions, and like, that's cool. Like, that's a very awesome thing for him to do. And like, I could definitely never do that, but that's not what Travis Hunter is attempting here. Travis Hunter is about, he's about to be like full-time, both sides of the football. Something, that it's so tough to do. And if he can do it, it's going to change the sport. Because all of a sudden, kids in high school that are outstanding athletes are going to look around and be like, Travis Hunter can do it in the NFL. Like if I can do it in high school, like I'm really athletic. Maybe I can do it in college. And then I think it's just going to kind of change the way that kids play football, and it'll kind of have an impact high school all the way up to the pros. So, someone else will immediately want to try to do it after Travis does it, and that'll be a really interesting thing. I think it would have to be a guy who can play corner and also play receiver, if that makes sense. So Travis Hunter, I find him to be the most interesting of all the rookies this year. I think Abdul Carter, the 3rd overall pick to the Giants, or the 4th overall pick, wherever he went, I get him and Will Campbell flipped on who went 3rd and who went 4th all the time. But Abdul Carter, he will be the most impactful rookie on defense. Wait, no. The Giants had the 2nd pick. I'm sorry. Abdul Carter will be the most impactful rookie, I think, on defense this year. I would bet him to win Defensive Player of the Year in a heartbeat, because that guy is going to put his hand in the dirt and immediately be super athletic. That is the one thing about Laiatu Latu, and part of why I thought he got off to a slow start last year, or just had a slow year in general. It wasn't because he doesn't know how to rush the passer. He's just not some freak athlete. And so if you're not a freak athlete and you can't, just bend your way around dudes to get sacks, then it's a lot tougher than when you're 6'5", 270 pounds, and you can bench a bull and you run a 4.4. Like, those guys are immediately good because they're just so physically gifted, right? And that's where Abdul Carter kind of lands. So I think he's going to be really impactful on a really good Giants front 7. So Abdul Carter, somewhere between 8 and 9 sacks on the year, and he takes home defensive rookie, not player, defensive rookie of the year. I think the most impactful, not the best, the most impactful offensive rookie on offense is going to be Teteroa McMillan, the wide receiver out of Arizona, who the Panthers took really early. And the reason why is just because when you look at the Carolina Panthers and the wide receivers on that team, I mean, sheesh, it's brutal. There's just not a lot of good there. It's McMillan, obviously, who's very big, very long, very athletic. He received a lot of comparisons to Mike Evans when he entered the draft. He's not as thick as Mike Evans, but he's pretty long and tall and all those things. And then it's Hunter Renfrow, who didn't play last year. And then it's Adam Thielen, who's 36 years old now. He's 35, 36. He's somewhere in that age range. So I think Teteroa McMillan is going to be the most impactful rookie on offense, just because Bryce Young finally has a real weapon for him to throw the football to. So I think he's going to have the biggest impact immediately upon entering the NFL. With that being said, Ashton Jeanty will be the best rookie this year, because the learning curve from playing wide receiver in college to playing wide receiver in the NFL is much steeper than running back in college to running back in the NFL. Not much changes. Pick up the blitz, which the quarterback and center are going to tell you where the blitz is coming from, and run through the holes that the offensive line makes an attempt to create. So, yeah, Ashton Jeanty will be the best rookie in the class this year. And then I think Jahad Campbell and Malachi Starks will be the most successful rookies. And by that, I mean, their teams are going to win a lot of games, and they're going to be a part of it. Jahad Campbell, linebacker out of Alabama, was the first linebacker taken, and he was taken by the Eagles. And I just immediately buy stock in whoever the Philadelphia Eagles draft, because their rookies show up and they produce pretty much immediately, because they're the Eagles. And for some reason, they just draft perfectly. What Howie Roseman has done is pretty insane. And I would bet on Malachi Starks to have a very successful year as well, because he got drafted by the Ravens, who do the exact same thing. And they're going to put him in a position where he can succeed. He was the best safety in this draft. I remember when the Ravens drafted Kyle Hamilton, everyone was like, Kyle Hamilton is absolutely going to be good. I understand that he plays safety, but I think I'd rather just draft a player that I know is going to be really good. And so all these teams passed on him, and the Ravens were like, we're not going to pass on him. And now he's just, going to be an all-pro every year. Malachi Starks, very similar. Not as good as Kyle Hamilton coming out of Notre Dame, but Malachi Starks feels like a pretty sure thing. So those are the rookies that I'm kind of watching for, and I think are going to be impactful and discussed a lot. Tyler Warren, the catch he made yesterday that has been posted time and time and time again. First and foremost, it wasn't a one-handed grab. Let me just say that. He deflected it down with his left hand, and then he caught it with both. That's not a one-handed catch. I don't know what it is, but that's not a one-handed catch. I saw someone post an article where they compared his catch to the Odell Beckham Jr. catch, and I was like, that's the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen. So not a fan of that, but it's training camp, and we have to get excited about everything. Okay? I mean, it's that's just what it is. So more training camp updates. We'll have them as they come out. Anthony Richardson, everyone is on the hype train. I'm not on it quite yet. Let's see how the joint practice goes and the preseason game goes next week, and then I will consider getting on board. Glad things are going in the correct direction for him, though. I hope you have a good weekend. I'm playing golf tonight. It's going to be terrible. I'm going to hit the ball anywhere but straight, and I'm still going to have fun, though. It'll be a good time. So I'll be back Monday, 10 to noon. The Dan Dockett Show comes your way next. Eddie White at 12:30. We got Sylvie coming on at 2:30, and then we've got a guy in Jacksonville who's been at Jacksonville Jaguars camp. He's going to come on at 2 o'clock to kind of give you the rundown of what the Jags have looked like so far this offseason. The Dan Dockett Show, it's loaded. You don't want to miss it, and it comes your way here in about 5 minutes.